This is Q60 to East Midtown-2 Avenue. A fare is required to ride. This stop is 109th Avenue and 157th Street. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and 109th Avenue. Transfer available to Q6. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and 109th Avenue. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and Yates Road. Transfer available to Q40. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and Yates Road. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and Tuskegee Airman Way. Transfer available to Q112. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and Tuskegee Airman Way. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and Liberty Avenue. Transfers available to Q8 and Q9. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and Liberty Avenue. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and 95th Avenue. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and 95th Avenue. Next stop, Sutphin Boulevard and Archer Avenue. Transfers available to the E, J and Z trains, AirTrain, Long Island Railroad, Q6, Q8, Q9, Q20A, Q20B, Q24, Q25, Q30, Q31, Q34, Q40, Q43, Q44 SBS, Q54, Q56 and Q65. This stop is Sutphin Boulevard and Archer Avenue. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 144th Street. Transfers available to Q24, Q54 and Q56. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 144th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Jamaica Avenue. Transfers available to Q24, Q54 and Q56. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Jamaica Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 87th Avenue. Transfers available to Q20A and Q20B. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 87th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 86th Avenue. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 86th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Main Street. Transfers available to the E and F trains, Q20A, Q20B, Q44 SBS, QM21 and X68. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Main Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Hoover Avenue. Transfers available to QM18, X63 and X64. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Hoover Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 82nd Avenue. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 82nd Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Union Turnpike. Transfers available to the E and F trains, Q37, Q10, Q10 Limited and Q46. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Union Turnpike. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 78th Avenue. Transfers available to QM18, X63, X64 and X68. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 78th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 76th Road. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 76th Road. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 75th Avenue. Transfers available to the E and F trains in QM18. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 75th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 72nd Drive. Transfer available to QM11. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 72nd Drive. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 72nd Avenue. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 72nd Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 108th Street. Transfers available to the E, F, M and R trains, Long Island Railroad, Q23, Q64 and QM18. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 108th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 70th Avenue. Transfers available to QM4, QM12, QM42 and QM44. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 70th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 68th Drive. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 68th Drive. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 67th Road. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 67th Road. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 67th Avenue. Transfers available to the M and R trains, QM11 and QM18. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 67th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 65th Avenue. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 65th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 63rd Drive. Transfers available to the M and R trains, Q38, Q72, QM11 and QM18. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 63rd Drive. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 62nd Drive. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 62nd Drive. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 59th Avenue. Transfers available to the M and R trains, Q59, Q88, Q29, Q11, Q21, Q53 SBS, Q52 SBS, QM10, QM11 and QM40. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 59th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 56th Avenue. Transfer available to Q59. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 56th Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Reeder Street. Transfers available to the M&R trains, Q53 SBS, Q58 and Q59. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Reeder Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Van Leeuwen Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Van Leeuwen Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Cornish Avenue. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Cornish Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 74th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 74th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 70th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 70th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 69th Street. Transfer available to Q47. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 69th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 65th Place. Transfer available to Q18. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 65th Place. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 63rd Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 63rd Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 60th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 60th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 58th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 58th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 55th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 55th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 52nd Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 52nd Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 48th Street. Transfers available to the 7 train, B24, Q32 and Q104. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 48th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 45th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 45th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 41st Street. Transfer available to the 7 train. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 41st Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 39th Place. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 39th Place. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 38th Street. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 38th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and 35th Street. Transfer available to the 7 train. This stop is Queens Boulevard and 35th Street. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Skillman Avenue. Transfer available to Q39. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Skillman Avenue. Next stop, Queens Boulevard and Queens Plaza East. Transfers available to the E, M&R trains, B62, Q101, Q102, Q32 and Q66. This stop is Queens Boulevard and Queens Plaza East. Next stop, Queens Plaza North and 29th Street. Transfers available to the 7 N&W trains, Q101, Q102, Q100 Limited and Q32. This stop is Queens Plaza North and 29th Street. Next stop, East 60th Street and 2nd Avenue. Transfers available to Roosevelt Island Tram, M15, M15 SBS and Q32. This stop is East 60th Street and 2nd Avenue. This is Q60 to East Midtown-2 Avenue. A fare is required to ride.